Welcome to the podcast. Kristian, how are you, sir? How are you doing today?
Thank you, man. I'm doing good. I'm sitting in winter, Norway, Oslo, having a good time, basically.
That's what we're going to talk about because I'm just, I don't know, I'm a product of the American school system. I don't know. I'm lucky I know where the garbage can is. I need a map to get there, let alone I know where Norway is, but I'm obviously using hyperbole. But Kristian lead guitar of the Cruel Intentions. And we can embarrass myself right now because I just wanted to make sure I pronounced your name correctly. Because again, I have that New York. I don't
Yeah,
like my Long Island-y accent, Brooklyn-y accents. I don't want to bastardize your language, your beautiful language. But how do you say your last name?
my last name in Norwegian is Solhaug. Solhaug. So it basically means sun hill. If you want to translate it to English, it will be sun hill. That's what it means basically. But to pronounce it, yeah, Solhaug. Solhaug.
Solhaug. See, I don't want to ruin the beautiful language. So I just want to get that out of the way from the Cruel Intentions. And
yeah,
we could call this segment Appetite for Discovery, as I keep just going along those
discovering new things, learning new things about language and stuff.
Well, I guess first of all, I know you say everything is great in Norway, but I mean, how are you? What time is it there? As we're recording this, it's like 1 PM. So are we keeping you
awake? Well, I just ate dinner, put it that way. It's 7 in the evening in Norway. So it's dark outside and it's it's still winter, but it's the sun is coming up and it's getting warmer slightly by day. So I feel the breeze of spring.
Okay.
Touch of it, basically.
And did you grow up in the same area, same town? Like, are you Norwegian kid? Is that how I want to talk? I want to find out a little about little Kristian first and see how, the kid growing up in Norway listening to rock and metal. So I want to kind of paint the picture of the path that got you where you are now.
Yeah, well, basically, I live now in the nation's capital, Oslo, but I'm born and raised in north of Norway, above the Arctic Circle. So it's pretty far from here, actually, but it's in a small town in northern Norway. And that town is called Bodø. It's a small village by the sea. It's a fishing village, basically. But as rock and metal, I mean, I started to listening to it when I was around 7 or 8 years old. So it's the music reached every corner of the world, I guess.
Who influenced you? Because I'm the oldest of 4 boys. I'm the oldest brother. So I try to influence my younger brothers, but I got a lot of it from my dad, listening to the Doors and Led Zeppelin. That's what he brought me up on. So like, who was it friends? Was it family? Like, who got you into rock and roll?
Well, it's sort of the same story, I guess. As far as music, my family, my parents, they listened to Beatles and stuff like that. So I grew up as a small child, listening to music. But rock and metal music was, the kids in the neighborhood and older kids, that lived around the streets, basically. And just remember, a friend of mine across the street, he got the Use Illusion 1 album at that time. And he just got it from, I guess, from his older siblings or something like that. And we just, heard it and just took up from there, basically. At that time, Guns N' Roses and Metallica were all over the place anyway. It was on MTV. We had MTV and stuff like that. So you could not avoid, listening to it. This is around, 91, 92, and 93, that area.
How old were you at that time? Because I always like finding that out.
Yeah, I was 7, 8 years old, so I was a kid basically.
Yeah. So you're a few years older than me because, I missed out. Yeah, I was alive. I was born in 83, so I was alive 91, 92, but I was listening to like the Muppet Babies still, or Michael Jackson, kind of thing.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. I listened to Michael Jackson for me also before Guns N' Roses and the heavier stuff.
And the Beatles too, same with my parents as well. So it's just interesting how people, when they find Guns N' Roses. That's kind of what we do on this podcast too, because it's, yeah, they're my favorite band, but I love talking to people around the world, whatever age they are, and just finding out when they discovered this band. And you just brought it up without even me asking when you discovered Use Your Illusions.
Yeah.
Did you hear that first, or did you hear Appetite first?
It was actually, Use Your Illusion 1. My friend, as I talked about, over the street, across the street, he got the CD, Use Your Illusion 1. And I got it. I borrowed it from him, and I got my father to record it over to tape, cassette tape. And later, I kind of pushed my mom to buy me the Use Your Illusion 2, the Blue album, on a cassette. And that was my first album, cassette, Use Your Illusion 2.
I like that.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, being so young and getting that kind of influence. And that's the reason why it sticks with you, I guess, because I never grow tired of listening to it. I listen to it all the time. And it's with you for forever, I guess.
And your mom wasn't deterred by the parental advisory sticker on it? She didn't care?
No, I mean, I don't think she even knew what that means. She's Norwegian, and and it was, because you had, on Use Your Illusion 2, you have the Get in the Ring song, which I guess is a little bit explicit, but and we love that song as kids,
Yeah.
So it was a good time. And also one groundbreaking point was that we saw this at that time. There was a pay-per-view live show going on. I guess it was maybe only in Europe, but it was the live in Paris show in '92, I believe.
Right.
And that was the first time I saw them, on TV as a band together and everything. And for me, that was kind of like the turning point. Then I really got I was like blown away, and that was the best concert. It's still one of my favorite concerts.
The Paris pay-per-view, the famous Paris pay-per-view.
Yeah, I guess it was all over the world or something like that. Yeah.
It's cool because obviously just talking to you, you're, just from growing up as an 8-year-old, you're a Guns N' Roses fan. And that's how I'm just a Guns N' Roses fan who happened just to work in radio. You happen to start a band and do all these amazing things. But the first thing I heard, it's not like I'm going out seeking the next Guns N' Roses or, trying to find a band that sounds like they're I like everything. There's only one of one. But when I heard the Cruel Intentions, it might have been the single, I believe, Sunrise Over Sunset. It doesn't sound, he doesn't sound like Axl, but it was like the first time I've ever listened to anybody. It's like, whoa, that's somebody who is maybe like the modern day Axl Rose. Like, was that like
that's a compliment. I mean, he would be glad to hear that. And for me, it's obviously also a compliment to be associated with Guns N' Roses, or that people think about Guns N' Roses. But obviously, we don't try to be like Guns N' Roses. I am the main Guns N' Roses fan in the band. The other guys have, other influences. But I mean, that's a huge compliment, just to be have our name together with, Guns N' Roses. That's amazing.
Because it's interesting because you guys, you can hear the Sunset Strip, influence, but you don't sound like anybody else. So you don't sound like Guns N' Roses, but you can hear the influence. And again, he doesn't sound like Axl, but you hear the influence. And nobody is. I like people who sound different, which is why I like you guys with Cruel Intentions, because there's a difference and a being familiar with it, at the same time, like a level of comfort. So before we get to the new, because you have a song featured on Peacemaker, HBO Max, which is super popular.
Yeah, that's cool. Pretty cool.
That is cool. It's on my to watch list. Between you and I, Kristian, and people who listen to watch, I watch just a lot of bad horror movies and just cartoons, and I'm just behind on some of the newer stuff. I mean, Ozark, but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
There's so many things to watch. You have all this, Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO. So yeah, there's
too much.
A lot of stuff. You can zap through you can zap through things in days or weeks. And there's a lot of stuff to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. But to backtrack a little bit, I want to hear about your path, how you got to the Cruel Intentions? So we heard when you were started listening to music, but when did you start playing? When did you realize you wanted to be play guitar or be a guitarist?
Yeah, well, I guess from that point, as an 8-year-old, those years were pretty much Guns N' Roses and Metallica years. I didn't play any instruments, or actually, yeah, that's not correct. I played actually the accordion, which has nothing to do with nothing to do with rock or metal at that point. But because
Weird Al.
my family on my father's side, I played accordion from everybody does it. So, and but I picked up the guitar when I was around 13 years old. And obviously, at that time, it was, the first thing that you really wanted to learn was still, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, all the basic stuff that was around at that time, and still was around at that time. Metallica kept on going during the 90s. So it was, 13 years old, picked up the guitar.
Okay.
And it got more, technical stuff, Metallica and more metal at that time, but I still learned Guns N' Roses and stuff like that. So fast forward and starting to playing bands in high school. This is like the typical, I guess, rocker story. and different bands, different influences, classic rock, metal, stuff like that. Fast forward to, in 2012, this is when I met Mats, the bass player, first time. And I joined his band. He had a band in Oslo called Gotham Saints, and then we got to know each other and started playing. And this was like 80s based, a little bit of Guns N' Roses, a little bit of, the sleaze metal sound, Rats, stuff like that. So
okay,
that was my first meeting with Mats, the bass player. And, played in band with him.
So when did because I understand there's such a long path, and I always find it interesting when there's a musician who's young and you see them joining bands and breaking up, and that's just how it is, but they're in the limelight already, and you shouldn't have to see all the aches and pains of going through some of these bands, but which you had to go through.
Yeah.
But so when did you find, I guess, when did the Cruel Intentions come about? How did that formulate? Because the band's not that old, right? It's not, you guys aren't too old.
It's not old. I mean, this was at that point, me and Mats were really good friends. Still played in that band. Mats' band was called Gotham Saints, and Mats got, by accident, got to know Lizzie Devine, the vocalist, by his girlfriend, actually. The girlfriend of Lizzie Devine and girlfriend of Mats were friends. And I think it was just talking about, me and Mats' band got nothing going on at that time, just, playing some gigs here and there, nothing big actually. And Mats met up with Lizzie Devine, and they just talked about, having a party. They had a party and just talking, getting drunk and talk about basically, maybe we should maybe we should try to write something, or at least do an acoustic show, calling it like Gotham Saints featuring Lizzie Devine. And they basically they got friends, and I met with Jimmy or Lizzie Devine and Mats to have just talk about this, and we decided to have let's do an acoustic show in Oslo, just for fun, and we hit it off together. We had the same music influences, and we just felt that this could be something good. I just had a good feeling about it, basically.
Because you said you're the Guns N' Roses guy in the band.
Yeah.
So what are the other influences that the others brought in? Like, what are you bonding over? All the Beatles, maybe? Who?
No, not so much the Beatles. I mean, that's also my department, I guess.
Okay.
But a lot of 80s stuff. I know everybody is huge fans of this Swedish band called Shotgun Messiah. I don't know if you heard about it. Shotgun Messiah.
I know of them. I haven't gone.
I think if you like Guns N' Roses, you will like them, because they're the album that came out in '92. I don't remember the name of the album, but it's really like very Guns N' Roses ish. So I think you will like it actually. So, but that's the band everybody loves, and Mats is a huge fan of those. A lot of these obscure sleaze bands, and often Scandinavian bands, but also bands like Rat, obviously Mötley Crüe, stuff like that, and Faster Pussycat. All the good old ones, Aerosmith, stuff like that, and yeah.
Are you watching just how my brain works? Sidebar, because you mentioned Motley Crue. You watching Pam and Tommy? Because we were talking
Yeah,
about.
actually, yes, I've seen the first season just recently, actually.
I think as we're taping this, a new episode comes out tonight. Not that I'm keeping
Oh,
track.
there is more episodes, yeah. Because I wonder if there was finished or is something new is going to happen, because it's kind of it's kind of like the episode number 5, I guess, was like something more should happen. I felt so.
Yeah, I've been loving it because you're right. A lot of these streaming things, they just drop all the episodes of the season and you can just binge it. Here, that's not the case. They're releasing one, I guess, a week. But it's yeah, it's been great watching it because I love that era, and that's why I like that you're putting this spin on it and this, I guess this leads to a question I was going to ask, so it works out. There seems to be this resurgence of another genre of music I like, pop punk. It's stuff I like.
Yeah,
But sleaze, it seems like there is a resurgence, but I'm wondering if it's not meant to be, the mainstream. Like you're not going to see, I don't know, maybe Machine Gun Kelly will go sleaze rock when this doing now doesn't work out. I don't know, but how do you feel about that Sunset Strip era being played, that kind of music in 2022, where people might be, people might not get it, like those bands like Steel Panther, they're playing a part on
yeah,
purpose.
so,
So
yeah.
is there, yeah, how do you feel about, I guess, the genre of the music that you're playing now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, because sleaze, that term has always kind of, I guess, has been kind of like underground phenomenon. At least the Scandinavian wave that was in the early 2000s. So I don't see that going mainstream. That being said, I don't see us as a pure sleaze band either. We have some, punk influences, or even some pop punk influences, in some songs. So for our part, I guess it's a mix between a lot of stuff. It's not just, we're not just a sleaze band. It's just basically hard rock, if you ask me. So I don't think, but you never know. I mean, maybe that 80s look and 80s everything will be popular, and guys like Machine Gun Kelly will dress this and that and get a big blonde hair wig or something. You never know. Because everything is like it's a revival of everything. The early 90s was popular for a period, and the late 90s were popular. Revival.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
coming. So you never know. Maybe.
I think it's what's coming back are true musicians. And when you look back to that era, bands like Poison and, the one I always think of, like Winger, because Beavis and Butt had made fun of them, but they're all
Yeah.
great musicians and songwriters and talents. And people got obsessed with the term sleaze or hair metal, and they
Yeah.
don't see musicianship. So, I mean, I'm sure you feel that way as a guitarist,
Yeah.
listen to what I'm playing, not just what I look like, I guess.
Yeah, I'm always glad to see when I see these huge award shows, in the US. When I see a band, or when they have guitar players, when they have a full band, and it sounds kind of rock music. I'm glad to see that is happening, and I think it might come back. People are appreciating, music being played by musicians, by instruments.
This is another crazy thought that just came to mind, and this is just coming from another ignorant American. I'm not too familiar. Actually, I learned a lot about the Eurovision
Yeah,
show from that Will Ferrell movie. Believe it or not, I'm ashamed to.
yeah, I've seen that movie.
I don't know how accurate it's supposed to be. Like Pam and Tommy is not supposed to be accurate. I just take all these things as entertainment,
Yeah.
But I read something that the band Erasmus is up for their country. Is that something that you guys could do? Like I thought it was just for bands that aren't, or artists that aren't discovered? Like, are you allowed to submit to be on that
Yeah,
show?
I think we
Okay.
are allowed to do it. I mean, we don't have any plans doing it, but I mean, it's not impossible. There are rock acts and even metal acts in Eurovision. There's always like one or two each year, maybe one or yeah. So but it's not as far as credibility. I mean, it's for a rock band. It's nothing you aim for, I guess. But I mean,
Okay.
I guess a fun experience, I guess.
It just seems more eclectic and accepting to rock and metal, because I'm seeing commercials for American Idol, which is apparently still on, and you
Yeah.
know the most rock. I mean, credit. He's a talented guy, but Daughtry is like the most rock guy to come out of there. And
Yeah.
you see Maneskin come out, and like it's just cool.
Yeah,
Then
that was a big surprise actually, that band, because they had this 70s glam rock style and were playing, I mean, not the typical pop rock or pop metal sound. They were more, this sounded like a David Bowie meets a punk band or something like that, 70s rock basically. So maybe we see a shift in, it's getting more popular, that kind of music, with that crowd, the crowd, the Eurovision crowd, and the younger crowd also. So it's not unlikely to see a rock band
all right.
and attending.
Well, you may not do Eurovision, but we're gonna at least get new music. So can you tell us about the new album that's coming out in June, Venomous Anonymous?
But yeah, well, it's we are pretty excited about that. It took a long time to everything basically, to write it, to record it, because of obviously the COVID situation. And we all live in Oslo. Beside our drummer lives in Sweden, in Gothenburg, which is 3-4 hours drive. But with the borders have been closed, and we have difficulties getting to meet just to rehearse or to write music. So things have taken a long time. So we are finally, it's just a relief to starting to get this music out, and we are excited. Really, and we're happy with the result also. We can't wait to show this to people who love and like rock music.
Okay. What's I guess the feedback? How do you feel about, like, have you let people listen to your friends and family listen to the album yet? Like, what's the feedback you're getting?
They are excited. I mean, they think it's a good production. It sounds, the sound is it's extremely good, I would say. Trying to be humble, but it's we're really happy with the sound and with everything, with the as far as every instrument, guitar, the drums are insane, and so we have gotten only good feedback. I mean, this is friends, so they maybe want to be friendly with us, but but I think people will enjoy this. It's much more diverse than the other album. Also, it's got different kinds of songs. Also, a good mix of a lot of influences and stuff like that. So I think
Cool.
I hope that people will enjoy it.
Cool. Well, people can now watch again the Sunrise Over Sunset video, in addition to, like, it's on all streaming services, but you can go watch it as well. Do your thing. But I got to ask, since you are the GNR guy, and you mentioned how the new album is eclectic and different, Use Your Illusion. That's where my brain is going. What are your just generic questions? Do you have a favorite Guns N' Roses song? Is it from your first album, Use Your Illusion one?
Yeah, that's kind of, it's always difficult to pick out songs like that. But I actually have nailed it down to my favorite song. I think I'm not sure, but I think it will be "You Could Be Mine" from U Solution 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's one of their best songs ever. So hard pressed.
Yeah, it is, because obviously that was, as I said before, that I got the cassette first, U Solution 2, and at that time, I guess the movie Terminator 2 came out, and that was the soundtrack. So I guess it was the right time, and then it has stick with me, since then, I love it.
Have you seen them live?
And it got everything. That song, you know, it's the ultimate rock song, I guess. You know, with the intro and everything, and the guitar solo and the drum work and yeah, everything.
I know, and you can't again help but think about Terminator 2 and all those wonderful feelings that come back of just seeing
Yeah.
Terminator 2 in theaters and just hearing it. Just great all around. The video with Arnold.
Great
Did
video.
you have you ever seen them live? Have you ever
Guns
seen
N'
them?
Yeah, obviously in newer times. I remember when I was in '93, I was a kid, but I remember seeing it on the news that they were playing in Norway, in Oslo, on the Use Illusion tour. But obviously I was too young to go, and I lived far north. But I saw them actually in first time in Las Vegas, actually, in 2016.
Okay.
I guess that was the first show, the reunion show.
And oh wow, those are big shows. I'm
Yeah,
jealous of those
so
first shows.
it was a great experience. I mean, even though Axel hurt his foot, so he had to sit down the whole show. But I mean, he sang great, and it was a great performance, and it was magic to hear those songs live. It was amazing.
Brilliant. And speaking of live, what are your plans as far as live performances?
Yeah, we have some. There has been a lot of postponed shows. During this COVID period, but we have some shows this spring in Finland, and we have some here in Norway, and we're also going to Belgium before summer. And there is obviously something in the works, which is not official yet, but we want to try to obviously get on a tour with the album after the album is released sometime. Okay. So there are things in the work in progress, but obviously we want to play live. It's been a tough 2 years with no live, less or nothing to do live.
I know I've talked to a lot of musicians about that, and I feel for it. I feel for you. And I'm lucky where I mentioned, I forget if I mentioned in the episode or before, but just how the fact that I'm here in Queens in my apartment, that's why I have this crazy background, because normally I would be in the studio pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the way, home studio.
Yeah.
Thankfully my cats haven't interrupted me, which is sometimes a problem. But I'll be excited, hopefully come to the New York area where I get to experience the Cruel Intentions live, and just there's a lot to look forward to. So I really appreciate your time, and you got to let me know what you think of the new Pam and Tommy that comes out. I know it's not accurate. I know it's just like, it's entertainment for me, and Pam and Tommy have been very vocal that they don't support it, but yeah. I don't know. I think it's just going back, as we've talked about, thinking about a certain time in life and just references, and just kind of it's a TV show and enjoying it. But, so I want your opinion. You got to tell me what you think of the new episode, and when it eventually finishes.
Absolutely. I will do that.
All right.
Well, cool. And yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a good time talking about Guns N' Roses. I do it all the time at parties and stuff. So I can talk about Guns N' Roses forever.
Awesome. We'll do it again. People, that's the funny thing. I'm like their outlet. They don't usually have like friends or family that love Guns N' Roses, but I allow you to, that's the deal here. We meet people across the world that love Guns N' Roses, and we get to talk about it. Meet cool new people.
Perfect. And yeah, obviously we really want to come and play in New York, or just about everywhere in America. So that's like the main goal. We hope that will happen someday. So maybe we see each other around live also.
Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate your time, Kristian, and you have a great day.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it.